How you feel? You look good. Before we begin, let me briefly lay out the mechanics for today's hearings. First, we'll hear from our congressional colleagues. Then I'll swear in Assistant Attorney General Clark. We'll each have 5 minutes to question her after she makes an opening statement. Then a round of questions. There'll be a round of questions with a final panel. We'll once again have 5-minute limits to each round of questions by our membership. Welcoming Tim Scott of South Carolina. Senator Scott, thanks for being here. Congresswoman Michelle Steele of California, they're going to share their perspectives on this important topic. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the ranking member, Grassley, as well, for holding such an important hearing on a topic that is obviously growing in importance around this country right now. Certainly with a backdrop of increasing hate crimes around this country, it is important to note that we have finally, after 200 times, tried and they failed. But this Congress, in a bipartisan fashion, frankly, in a nonpartisan fashion, just putting Americans beyond politics, passed the anti-lynching legislation that this Senate has passed 3 times in the last 3 years. It is good to see that it is on the way to the president's desk, and it sends a positive, powerful signal to those who have been the victim of lynching, the importance of what's happening today, and to their families as well. And so with that, I'd like to just note that as we think through the challenges that we're seeing on campuses around this country, and specifically speaking of HBCUs, we have to note, in fact, that you think about the professional class of African Americans who are college graduates, whether you're talking about teachers, doctors, lawyers, general officers in our military, nearly half of those individuals found their start at an HBCU. And so when you're talking about populating America with some of the brightest, most talented, gifted individuals who are willing to put their lives on the line, who are willing to serve this nation, HBCUs is the foundation for so much of that success. And so with that, I'd also note that when you think about that success, 8 HBCUs find their home in South Carolina. And so this is an issue that is incredibly important. And frankly, as I think about the impact that HBCUs are having as far as creating a very professional class of African Americans who are changing this country in a very positive way, I think about places like Kentucky State University, HBCU, with 40% of its student population are not Black. And so the diversity on college campuses that are HBCUs have never been more diverse than they are right now. But over the past few months, my heart has been heavy. Mr. Chairman, it's been broken by the number of calls on HBCU campuses, bomb threats, stopping in their tracks the students on campuses, alarming the law enforcement agencies in their areas, causing confusion, and once again, a loss of learning on those campuses. One of those campuses is Claflin University in the great state of South Carolina. A victim of such threats. Students were going about their everyday business, trying to get to classes, trying to do what students do on campuses every day, being told to shelter in place, find safe haven, when you're just trying to learn. It's a devastating event that could easily scar you emotionally as well. As we've learned with this pandemic, these kinds of unnecessary and unwanted disruptions within the campus community and the spirit of fear within our education systems can be detrimental to the long-term health and viability of our students. Education played a key role in my life, and I know that it does in so many lives in this body and around this country. And it's important for us to protect that place, that sacred place of education in our country. In addition to the campus disruptions, these kinds of threats also draw down a significant amount of resources from our law enforcement agencies that are already struggling. Ranking Member Grassley talked about the challenges of meeting the demands, and I am thankful that President Biden spoke about the importance of providing our law enforcement agencies with more funding because the challenges that they face are extreme. It shouldn't be this way. Schools should not be a place of fear. They should be a place where dreams come true. Our nation has fought and fought and fought and continues to fight against dark elements within our society, and we will continue to do so. Last week, I was pleased to see the Senate unanimously pass bipartisan resolution condemning these evil threats of violence against HBCUs. We need the DOJ and the FBI to continue to provide oversight and to provide investigations. It's also sad to see that more than half of the hate crimes against people of religious background happen to our Jewish members of this society. We can do better. We should do better. And it's one of the reasons why I supported and sponsored legislation around anti-Semitism on college campuses as well. I believe it is our responsibility as an American family to address the issues that challenge us, because a threat to one is indeed a threat to all.
Thank you, Senator Scott, for being here today. And I want to, before I recognize Congressman Steele, just acknowledge your accomplishment together with Senator Booker and Senator Warnock in passing the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill before the Senate last night on its way to the president, as you mentioned. I want to salute my colleague, Congressman Bobby Rush, who is the House sponsor of this measure and is retiring this year. It's fitting that he achieved this. We've tried for over a century to pass that legislation, over a century.
Yes.
And one of the seminal events, I think, that led to its passage was the tragedy of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old who went to a family vacation in Mississippi and was murdered. When his body was returned, his mutilated body returned to Chicago, his mother, Mamie Till Mosley, decided